Hello everyone, welcome back to Dibya classes. So today we're going to start a new chapter, chapter number 12, that is arrays. So let us start. So the first question comes, what is an array? An array is a collection of similar type of data. An array is a collection of similar type of data. So what is data in Java? Data is nothing but values or literals or constants. Literals, constants, values, data means one thing. So in chapter 3 of class 9, we have already studied about literals. So when we group similar type of data, then that group is called an array. For example, you have 5 to 500 to minus 29, 62, 131. And you group all this number into one, then this will be called an array. So how these numbers are similar? You can see all these numbers are integer numbers. All these numbers are integer numbers. So group of integer numbers will form an array. Similarly, 5.0, 2.3, minus 0.3, 50.0, 6.03. When you group all these numbers in one place, then again this will be called an array, because all are similar, all are real numbers. Similarly, it can be done with single character constants, for string constants, for boolean constants. So when you group more than one value of similar type, then we'll call that as an array. For example, you have 5.2, 63, A, DC, and true. All these are literals, all these are values, and you group everything together. Then is this an array? No, this is not an array, because though these are values, all are valid values, they are not similar. They are not similar, because this one 5.2 is real, this one, that is 63, is integer, this is single character constant, this is string constant, and this is boolean constant. All are different from each other. So we cannot form an array. An array can only be formed when we contain similar values, like all should be integer, or all should be real, or all of these values should be single character. It should be of same type. Then only we can say that it is an array. So next question comes, why are we using an array? For example, you want to store 5. So what you do? You take a variable. You write like this, data type variable, because you have to tell the Java compiler that what type of value the variable will hold by the help of data type. So how many values can you keep in a variable? You can keep only one value. What if in variable A I want to keep 5 and 10? Can you keep both the values? No, this is not possible, because a variable can hold one value at a time, a single value at a given time. So for example, in A 5 was there, and now you want to store 10, then you have to delete 5 and replace it with 10. But what if in A you want to store 5 and 10? Both. This is not possible. But this can be made possible by using array. So you can say that array will help you to store more than one value in a single variable. So if you want to keep more than one value in a single variable, then you have to use an array. And remember, all these values should be similar. It means you can store either integer values or real values or boolean values or single character values or string values. You cannot mix them up. So what are the types of arrays? In Java there are two types of arrays. One dimensional array, also known as single dimensional array, and two dimensional arrays. So there are two types, one dimensional array and two dimensional arrays. So in our syllabus we have both one dimensional arrays and two dimensional array. First we will be studying about one dimensional array, and after that we will move to two dimensional arrays. So now let us come to another question. What is an array name? Collection of similar data type are referenced by a common name called array name. So here array name means nothing but it is talking about the variable name. So in the previous case, when we created arrays to keep similar values, like here we kept all integer values, or here we kept all real values, and this area is nothing but it is a location. It is a location. It is a space. It is a space where we can keep the values. Like a variable is nothing but it is a space to keep a value. But in array we can keep more than one value. But we need a space for that. That space should have a name. That space should have a name. Like a variable has a name. For instance, here you are storing 5 in a location and the location has a name, that is A. So this is nothing but it is called a variable name. Similarly, when you store these values in a location, the location should have a name, and that name is called an array name. An array name is similar to the variable name. Without telling it as a variable, we tell it as a array name. So how to write array name? Array name follows the same identifier syntax. In chapter 3 of class 9, you have already studied about the rules to write identifier names. So this array name has to be created using that identifier rule. You have to use identifier rules to create array name. So whenever you store a group of elements in a particular place, that place should have a name, and that name is called the array name. What is element in an array? Each value present in an array is known as element of an array. So here you can see in this example, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values present in a single array. This is the array, this box I have created, which also has a name called array name. Let the array name be X. So in the array X, we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values. These 6 values are known as elements. So here in array, the values are known as elements. So there are how many elements in this array X? There are 6 elements in this array X. Element number 1, element number 2, element number 3, element number 4, element number 5, element number 6. Each value is called one element. So this array X has 6 elements. Similarly, this is another array which contains real values. Let the array name be P. And how many elements does this array P has? It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. It has 5 elements. Understood? What is size or length of an array? Total number of elements present in an array is known as size or length of an array. So here in the first case, the length or size of the array is 6 because there are 6 elements. Similarly, here the length or the size is 5 because it has 5 elements. What is location, index or subscript of an array? The position of each element in an array is known as its location or index or subscript in an array. So let us understand this. So before understanding what is location, I need to tell something more in details about array. So array is like a train. I think everybody has seen a train. So this is a train. And so what are coaches? You can see big boxes kind of thing which are attached to each other, which forms a train. So when you travel in a train, you are assigned with a coach number and a seat number. For example, coach number and coach numbers are written in the coaches. The coach number are written in this box, in these coaches. Like this is coach S1, this is S2, this is S3. Okay, that is sleeper class, and there are AC classes also, AC coaches, which can be A1 or B1. Okay, like this, the coach numbers are given. For example, you are traveling in coach B1, seat number 16. So you will enter into this coach, and this coach other peoples will go whose seats are present. So here, for example, in each coach, one person can go. It is a small train, and each coach, one person can sit. For example, I will sit in coach number S1. My brother will sit in coach number S2. My mother will sit in coach number S3. You will sit in coach number A1. So each coach is assigned to a single person, and here the person is nothing but a value, or in Java we call the value as an element. So each coach, in each coach, one element will be stored. For example, there are 5 integer elements. There are 5 integer elements that to be stored in an array. This is an array, and in this array, let the name of the array be X, or each array always have a array name that has to be created by using the identifier rule. Let the array name be X. So since you have 5 integer elements to be stored, how many coaches do you need in this train? That is the array. You need 5 coaches. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And now in each coach, there are 5 coaches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You will store 5 elements. For example, in coach number 1, 3 is present. Second one, 21 is present. -7 is present. 8 is present. 111 is present. So 5 integer elements are present in different coaches, and each coach have the location. The first coach is called 0, the second coach is called 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. So if there are more than 5 elements, it will be 5, 6, 7, and it will go on till all the integer elements. In this case there are 5. If there are more, you can keep more elements also. An array can have infinite number of elements. There is no limit. Okay, it can have infinite number of elements. In this case, you are keeping only 5 elements, and all are of integer type. So you can see this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the coach numbers. But here we don't call it as coach number. We call it as location. We call it as location. Location is also known as index or subscript. Index or subscript. These are all synonyms. You can call it as a location, or as an index, or as a subscript. So if I ask, what is the location of element 21? You will say it is 1. What is the location of element 111? You will say it is 4. So location always starts with 0 and it will increase by 1 till the last element is reached. Here the last element, that is 111, is stored in location 4. This is the first element, second, third, fourth, fifth element. The first element is present location 0 and the last location is present in the location 4. So for example, in an array there are x number of elements. Means you don't know how many elements are there. In future classes, when you do array programs, it may be such a case that you don't know how many elements are present in that array. So if somebody asks, what is the location of the first element? Obviously it is 0 because the location starts from 0. And then somebody asks you, what is the location of the last element? What is the location of the last element? So for that, you need to find the number of elements present. The number of elements present in that array. Means the array you have created, you have how many elements? You don't know. But now you are assuming it is x. So the last element will be x minus 1. The location of the last element will be x minus 1. X may be anything. For example, there are 5 elements. Then the first element location will be 0 and the last location element will be 5 minus 1, that is 4. You can see in this case there were 5 elements. In this case there are 5 elements. The last location was 4. It is always the total number of elements minus 1. Or you can also say length of an array minus 1. What is the length of an array? We have already discussed. Total number of elements in an array is called the length of the array. So the last element location is total length minus 1. And we can find this length using a function which we'll be studying in the later part of this video. So there is a syntax to find the length of an array, that is the total number of elements present in that array. So if you know the total number of elements present in that array, the last location will be total number of elements, that is nothing but the length minus 1. Okay, understood? So we have already discussed this. What is the location of the first element and the last element of an array? The first element is always 0 and the last one is total size, that is nothing but it is talking about the length minus 1. What is base type of an array? The data type of an array is known as the base type. For example, in the first case, all are integer values. So you can say that the data type is int. But this can also be short because 502 cannot be stored in byte. The range of byte is till 127 only. It can also be short, it can also be long. But generally for storing integer elements, we take int. So you can say the best data type is int. And here you can say, for example, this is double. So the data type of the array is called the base type. For example, when we are creating variables to store a value, we always give a data type. Similarly, when we'll create arrays to store elements, we need to give a data type. And this data type is called the base type of that array. What is subscripted variable in an array? So we've already discussed this example. So this is an array X which contains 5 elements. And here 3 is present in the location 0, 21 in location 1. Similarly, like this, in the last location, that is for 111 is stored. So the first location, that is the 0th location, is represented as x square bracket 0. The first one. The second one is represented as x square bracket 1. The third one is represented as x square bracket 2. That is, variable name, and within square bracket the location name. So variable name and within bracket the location name is called the subscripted variable. These are called subscripted variable. So if somebody asks what is present in x0, you will say 3 is present. What is present in x1, you will say 21 is present. What is present in x2, you will say -7 is present. What is present in x4, you will say 111 is present. And this format, that is array name, square bracket and location, this format is called subscripted variable. The array name with subscript is known as subscripted variable, where this thing is known as subscript. The square bracket location, that thing is known as the subscript. Suppose the array name is P and it contains 5 elements, then the subscripted variables are P0, P1, P2, P3 and P4, in which these 5 elements are present. Understood? So now let us come to one-dimensional array. So now we'll understand how to create an array. So if you remember, in chapter 3 class 9, we studied about how to declare variables. You have already know the word declare. Declare variables means creating variables. Similarly, here we are going to declare an array, that is create. We'll understand how to create an array, and in this case we are creating one-dimensional array. So how to create an array? So there is a syntax. Like we are creating variables, that is data type variable name, semicolon. Similarly, there is syntax to create an array, and the syntax is data type array name square bracket equal to new data type size. So first you have to write the data type, and then the array name followed by square bracket equal to new data type, and within that size. For example, you want to create an array that can store 5 elements of integer type. That can store 5 elements of integer type. Then integer type means the data type will be int. Then you have to give some array name according to identifier rules. Let it be A. Then you have to give square brackets equal to new data type means the same thing, that is int, and size. Size means how many elements you want to keep. In this case I want to keep 5 elements, semicolon. This will create an array that can store 5 integer elements, means it will create a train which has 5 coaches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It will create a train which will store 5 elements, and all should be of integer type. You cannot put real or single character string in these coaches. Okay, you can keep only integer values because the data type is integer. Remember to give square brackets. If you don't give square brackets, you will write only int a. Then Java will think a as a normal variable. Means it can store only one value. If you want to store more than one value, you have to give this square bracket. If you give the square bracket, Java will know that you are creating an array and not a normal variable. You have to remember this, okay? You have to remember the syntax, or else your answer will be wrong. Here there is another example. Write a Java statement to declare an array m, that is the array name is m, which can store or hold 25 integer values. So int is the data type, m is the array name, followed by square bracket equal to new int 25, because we want to keep 25 integer values. Instead of writing in single line, you can also write in 2 lines. First, You will write int m square brackets and then you will write m equal to new int 25. But I would ask you to prefer this, that is write in the single line. Generally this one is preferred. Okay, so when you write this command or this statement, it will create an array m of integer type that can store 25 integer values. So now we have created the array, but we have not stored any value. We need to keep value, means in this train we need passengers, that is the value. So now we'll understand how to keep values in an array. So keeping values in an array is known as initializing. Same thing was there in variable. When you give value to a variable, that is known as initialization. Declaration of variables means creating variable. Initialization of variables means to give value to the variable. Similarly, declaration of array means creating an array. Initialization of array means to give value or to store the values. Values mean here in array we call it as elements in an array. So once the array is declared, once you have created the trend, now the next thing is to keep values in that trend, right, in that array. So this can be done in many ways. In Java, this can be done in many ways. So now I will tell you different methods how you can store elements in an array. So you can store elements in three ways. You can store elements in three ways. One is initialization method. One is declaration with initialization method. And last one is parameter method. So there are three ways you can store values in an array. One is initialization method. Second one is declaration with initialization method. And third one is parameter method. The first two methods will be used when you know the value. When you know the value, like for example, you have to store 5, 3, 7, 10 and 20. It is already given in the program that you have to store these values only. Then either you can use initialization method or declaration with initialization method. If you don't know the value, you only know that you need to keep 5 integer values. But what are those 5 integer values you don't know? Then you have to use the parameter method. So now I will make you understand how to use initialization method. For example, the question is create an array to store 5, 7, 2, minus 8, 10. You have to create an array to store these values. So first thing is you have to declare the array. You have to declare, that is creating an array. So that is data type. Here it will be int because all are integer values. Then the array name, let it be a. Square bracket has to be given because you are creating an array. Equal to new data type is int and in bracket 5. 5 because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. This is step 1. You have declared the array, that is you have created the array. Now we will store it. How to store it? A of 0 equal to 5. What is this thing called? Subscripted variable. So this tells that in array A, at location 0, store 5. That is in array A of location 0, you will store 5. So when you have created the train here, which contain 5 coaches, and these are the location number or the coach number. So in the first coach 0, you have stored 5. When you write like this, it will store 5 in the 0th location. Then again you have to write a of 1 equal to 7. Then a of 2 equal to 2. That is the third element. Then a of 3 equal to minus 8. then a of 4 equal to 10. So when you write a of 0 equal to 5, in 0 location 5 will be stored, a of 1 equal to 7, here 7 will be stored, a of 2 equal to 2, 2 will be stored, a of 3 equal to -8, -8 will be stored, and a of 4 equal to 10, here 10 will be stored. This is how to store the values. This thing is called initialization. So in each location, using the subscripted variable method, you have to store the values. Okay. There is another method, that is declaration with initialization. We'll do the same thing using declaration with initialization. In that case, you have to write int a, and within curly brackets, you have to write the element, that is 5, 7, 2, -8 and 10. These are the elements we need to store. 5, 7, 2, -8, 10. You can write like this directly. So when you write like this directly, int a, this part, when you write int a, it will create a train, and then first 5 is written, in 0 it will store 5, then 7 is written, in 1 it will store 7, then 2 is written, in 2 it will store 2, then -8 is written, in 3 it will store -8, then 10 is written, in 4 it will store 10. Understood? Both the syntax are fine. You can use the first one, you can use the second one when you know the value. When you know the value, it is preferably you should do like this, because this is a smaller way of writing. Because here you can see how many statements you are writing. First you are declaring, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total 6 lines, because there are 5 elements. If there are 100 elements, you have to write 101 statements. But here you can do the same thing using only a single statement. Understood? Both are acceptable. You can use either of those. And the third thing is, when you don't know the value, you have to use the parameter method. Parameter means, in the public void area, you have to write int a. That is a parameter input method. You have to write data type and array name followed by square brackets. So how will you input? So when you run the program, a box will come and you have to input like this. The second method, you have to input like this. I will show you through the help of a program. Let us create a class array1. So here first I'll write the skeleton, that is class array1 public void dnm. So let us write the first one first, that is when the elements are known, and using the declaration, using the only initialization method. So first you have to declare the variable. So first you have to declare the array, that is data type, array name equal to new data type, and size is 5, that is 5 elements. Then using the subscripted variable method, you have to store in the first location 5, in the second location 7, in the third location 2, in the fourth location -8, and in the last location we will store 10. This is the first method when you know the value. This is method 1 and this is method 2. Both are acceptable when you know the value. In this case you will write int a square bracket equal to, and within curly brackets you will give the element serially, 5, 7, 2, -8 and 10. Automatically this will be stored in location 0, this in location 1, this in location 2, this is in location 3 and this is in location 4 automatically. Okay, both the methods are acceptable. When you don't know the value, then what you will do? These two methods are not applicable when you don't know the value. For that, you have to write here int a, that is data type array name square brackets. Let us run this and I will show you how to enter the values. So we'll run this program. When you run this program, in this box you have to enter the value. How to enter the value? The same rule, that is the second method. That is curly brackets, then the value. Let us give the same value 5, 7, 2, -8 and 10. Okay. So when you press OK, automatically in the array A, this value will be stored, that is 5, 7, 2, -8, 10 in serial order. That is 5 will be stored in 0, 7 in 1, 2 in 2, -8 in 3 and 10 in 4. The same thing will happen in all the three cases. Okay. So this much for today. So in the next class, we are going to study more about array. We'll be doing some array programs. We'll also understand how to print arrays. Till now we have only understood how to declare arrays, that is create arrays and store values. That is only the input part. But in the next class we are going to do some processing part, that is some calculation related to arrays. And also we are going to understand how to print the array. So now I will take a leave from you. Have a nice day. Thank you.